Welcome back, and today we're going to talk about a rustly jacket. And as the title says, today we're going to look at On Running's Anorak. Now the Anorak is a 3-layer waterproof. It uses a half zip. It compresses relatively small, and I believe this weighs 209 grams. So that's quite a lot going on in a relatively small package, and I've had this since 2019. In fact, I've had this since the end of 2019. I've tested it throughout some of these storms, I've held on to it, and I've been trying to find the perfect time to talk about it. And now that things are getting windier, they're getting wetter, the temperatures are starting to drop, and we're more likely to be wearing a jacket, I figured, right, let's get this out. To be upfront with you, this isn't a sponsored post, nor is it a paid advertisement. I have been sent this jacket by Aspire PR for review. I'm not being paid. The views I'm about to tell you are my own. I'm not being told to say anything, and I just want to be upfront with you. So as I've said, the Anorak is a 3-layer fabric. That generally means it's more for winter rather than a summer run. You've got 3 layers with a membrane right in the centre to give you the ultimate protection. Now where this material differs from a lot out there is it has hydrophilic elements in it. Now hydrophilic is the opposite to hydrophobic, and hydrophobic is what the majority of jackets, be it running, be it outdoor, cycling, whatever you want them to be, are. That's where simply the water runs off much like a duck's back. The difference with a hydrophilic jacket, or hydrophilic elements as on say, is it actually absorbs some of that moisture. So it takes in some of your sweat, which due to the nature of the fabric actually increases the breathability. Now it's a bit of a weird one to get your head around, and sometimes on a hydrophilic jacket you will notice dimples like a golf ball, and that's where the water's being absorbed and that's aiding breathability rather than just beads of water. That membrane, like I say, has that hydrophilic element. However, the outside is also coated in a durable water repellent or DWR finish, which means you've got 2 things going on at once. It's a bit to get your head around, but ultimately the idea is to increase the breathability whilst retaining optimum waterproofing. We've got a 20,000 hydrostatic head to it, so effectively that's if you've got a water column and there's water pushing down on it, that's the amount it will hold out for a given time. Ultimately, you need to be out in the elements a hell of a long time in horrific conditions in a massive storm for any chance of the membrane to allow water through. Furthermore, with the material, the DWR coating is PFE free and the actual material is PTFE free. To you and I, what that means is it's good for the environment. There's less nasty things in it. The industries as a whole, be it running, cycling, outdoor, just waterproof jackets, are moving towards this. However, because of the costs associated with these newer fabrics and treatments, you generally only find it on the higher end of the scale, and that's partly why this jacket costs £320. And I know some of you have just gone, what the... But yeah, it costs a lot. So what do you get for your £320? The hood is actually quite clever. It's very minimal, but it does quite a lot. So you have microelastic down the side, which will help cinch it in. You have a wide peak, which is always a winner for me. It gives it some kind of structure, some support, and for me it's keeping that rain from just going straight down into your eyes. And on the rear it has a simple pull tab with this little adjuster. Rather than the elastic running around your head, so gripping onto the side of your cranium, this puller, as you'll see, is attached to this seam here, and it simply cinches it down, and you have a retaining loop here. It's very simple, but actually pretty damn effective. This also doubles up as a way of storing the hood. So if you're on a day, you want to have it out, but you don't need the hood up, we all know hoods can become parachutes. If you roll the hood up, you can pull this strap back over and you'll find a button, and you're like, why the hell have they put a button on this jacket? And around the button, let it release, you can see you're now holding your hood back, so you now have a hoodless jacket, as it were. Inside, as you'd expect with any waterproof jacket, it's fully taped. You have a half-length zipper with a storm flap and a guard to prevent it from irritating your chin. But for me, the main thing with On's Anorak is the ventilation. So we've already got the actual membrane. However, at the front, you've got these 2 tapes here. There are holes, so these are your front vents. And at the rear, under the shoulders, you have two huge vents. So this isn't how you're supposed to wear a jacket, in case any of you are now getting confused. It's not a puppet show, but these vents are massive. You can see me through it. What this means is you get lots of airflow through it. So on really windy days, it's actually puffs out like the Michelin Man, and it's actually a bit too cold for me. I found I'd rather keep this on the road rather than going into the mountains with. But for a system that you could say is quite old in terms of utilising holes, this is one of the best I've actually ever tried. There's a lot of jackets out there that do have permanent venting, but they don't really do much, whereas this is like some kind of exhaust system, like a bicycle helmet or through a car. On the cuffs, you have some elastic already to hold it around your wrist, and on top you'll notice there's a pre-shaped section of twin layer fabric which gives your hand a bit more coverage. At the bottom of the jacket, at the back, we have a slight dropped hem, once again double fabric, and around the front is that micro elastic. But let's talk about the fit. I'm 5'6". Okay, I'm 5'7" just about now, but I'm just going to call myself 5'6". I'm about 75 kilos. I'm by no means light for a quite short guy. This is a size small. Now you'll see there's quite a lot of space here. That's because it's designed to be a relaxed fit. Do not think of this as a racing jacket. This is something to use in training. You can use it casually. It's not your tighty, I'm going to say tighty whities. That's not right. It's not your glove of compression, but it has a few positives. You can layer up underneath it. Obviously you're not going to stick a massive fleece on, but if you'd like to utilise a second base layer or a really thin mid layer, you're not going to have any issues. And I also find it helps with the ventilation side. Because it's not held onto you, it does mean there is actually room for these vents to work. So as you can see, there's plenty of movement. It's not going to ride straight up. I have got loads of detailed photos on the website if you want to have a good look rather than me giving a tour of my living room. The hood, like I say, you've got a peak at the front which keeps the rain from going straight in. Obviously you want to double up the cap, you can do. Now that the hood's up, you can see how the rear works. So like I say, the elastic is attached to here. When you pull it tight, it cinches this down, and up the front it does a good job. You haven't got coverage like with a mountain jacket where it's covering your lips, covering your cheeks. This is very much aimed at just covering your extremities, your ears, your throat, the top of your head. It's quite warm in here. But most importantly, what do I think about On Running's Anorak? Fabric wise, it's a great choice. It really, really works. In terms of the coating, the DWR, that water repellency treatment to aid the breathability, it's a yes and a no. The C0, I love it. It's really good from an environmental standpoint. However, it is quite delicate. I did find areas on the arms, those areas effectively that you're constantly getting in and out. You think you're running along, you're checking your watch, that kind of stuff. They did start to show signs of the durability of that wearing down quite quickly, so it is something you're probably going to need to look after a little bit more than other jackets out there. The fit, when I first put it on, I was quite surprised. I thought, oh crap, I've ordered the wrong size. And then this is the smallest size. So if you're looking for something that's going to wrap around you, you might need to look elsewhere. However, if you want something that does give you a bit more freedom, that you can utilise in different scenarios, and that doesn't scream, I'm a runner, then the Anorak could be right up your street. The half zip is great. There's less zip to go wrong, less zip to break, and ultimately that's less hole for water to get through. On the flip side, it does mean you need to be sure that you want to wear it. If it's one of those days that you're not kind of sure how it's going to go, would you leave it at home? That's for you to decide. The major aspect that limits its use for me is actually the ventilation. Now, I never thought I'd say this, but these vents in some ways are too effective. I went out in summer storms in February, March wearing this on the roads. I live near Milton Keynes. We're not high up, but it does get windy. And I was actually really cold at one point where this thing was, like I said earlier, I was like the Michelin Man. I was huge, and I could feel the air coming through. So it did a great job of cooling me down, but actually at that point I needed a bit more protection. Now on the website they show it for kind of fast packing for trail running. Personally I'd keep it to the road, but that's because I'm looking for different aspects for a jacket at that point of view. And if you wanted one more feature, on the inside of the jacket there's a pocket. And you guessed it, you can stuff it in, and it means you don't have to worry about a stuff sack. I've got other jackets that I'm launching reviews for in the next week or two, and they don't do that. They come with a bag. I've never taken the bags out of the house, yet 2 out of 3 of them I've misplaced. Having that internal pocket makes life that bit much easier if you do want to stuff it down. Ultimately, if I was going to put this in a running vest, in a pack, I would just shove it in and I probably wouldn't even bother with that, but it's a neat little feature and a great one also if you're travelling. So there you go, there's On Running's waterproof anorak, £320, 209 grams, a 3-layer, half-zip, extremely well ventilated jacket that I personally see for road running and for around town use. Let me know if you take it into the mountains, onto the trail. Do you love an anorak? Do you love that half-zip pullover? Leave that in the comments and we will speak soon.